All right, so we'll get started. So thanks a lot, Juan, to grace this occasion. I had been going through some of the platforms which allows traders to be matched with capital, and Darwin by far came across as the most suitable platform. So today I invited Juan to talk about his platform so that our students who are algorithmic traders can learn the nitty-gritties of your platform and see whether it works for them or not. Again, a quick introduction about Juan. So he co-founded the Darwin Exchange. I'll briefly talk about what Darwin Exchange does before handing it over to Juan to talk us through the entire suite of products that he has. But prior to co-founding Darwinex, Juan worked as a consultant with a top-tier firm called Oliver Wyman and Company, based out of London. And there he consulted with two tier one banks on topics like liquidity risk management, credit modeling, balance sheet structuring, the fun stuff. He has a BSc in economics from ICADE University in Madrid, and then he did his master's in economics from LSE. He also has an FRM, Certified Financial Risk Manager. And if he's not working so hard, he loves to play with his kids and their Labrador dog. So I just want to briefly talk about Darwin Exchange. It is a regulated asset manager and brokerage firm. It offers emerging money managers, fund managers, a number of benefits. Most important being managing their capital, then optimizing the strategy. And the most attractive thing that I think most of you are here for is to get third party investments obviously based on your track record. There is a fee involved, and I think Juan is going to talk about that. So, Juan, why don't you take it away? If you have slides, that's great. Otherwise, you can just talk.
Okay, so thanks for the background on me. I guess the more pertinent thing to this one is I'm co-founder with the company. I co-founded the company in 2011 with my brother, and my brother is a manager. We don't. Neither of us, obviously being brothers, come from a city where there's like a big hedge fund industry. We come from a small city in Spain. And back in the day, he was managing a strategy, was looking to raise investor capital, and just realized how hard that is, both in terms of the regulatory requirements, also the fact that many people are just not, well, either good or attracted by going out and selling a strategy. And then also one thing which many also find out is that even if you manage to raise the capital, then keeping the capital and complying with all that goes with managing third-party capital ends up being a very time-consuming affair. So what we did then was create Darwinex, and the gist of Darwinex is what would a manager want to get if he loved trading and had a strategy, but didn't want to put up with raising the capital, getting investors, or B, putting up with all that goes with attracting those investors. Okay, so that's really the idea. And therefore, the way the platform works, if there's something I want you to take away from today, is that all you ever need to do is trade. Okay, there's nothing else that's required here. The only requirement is to trade as best as you can. And what we then do is take your strategy, package it up for investors in a number of ways. But crucially, what we do is make sure that you're legally covered, because we own two regulated asset managers, regulated by the UK and regulated by the Spanish CNMV to market in Europe. And what we do is, as you trade, we purchase the trade confirmations from your trades as signals that our asset manager then uses to manage investor capital from investors that we attract. Okay, so what you're doing is you're trading. As you trade, you generate signals. We purchase those signals in order to manage the funds by these third-party investors, and we collect a 20% success fee from the investors, and we buy the signals from you. We pay you as if you were the manager for 75% of the success fee we collect, meaning the investors pay 20, we pay you 15, and we keep 5. Given there's not that many of us here, like if anybody gets stuck at any point in time, just feel free to just jot any questions on the chat. So I'll just chat with me in case anybody fancies. But that's the gist of it. So we need some way for you to trade or generate signals. We then purchase those signals, and then we manage investor capital that we have attracted. The name of the company is called Darwin Exchange because there is no selection on our behalf in terms of saying which are the better signals. We take all the signals, we publish an asset, which I'll explain in a second, and then it's investors that we have raised, but then they choose the strategies they want. Okay, so I'm seeing a very good question here, which is who owns the strategy, the asset manager, Darwinex, or the trader? Okay, so Darwinex and the asset manager is one and the same thing. So it's really the asset manager is the license that we use. In terms of owning the strategy belongs to the trader, but the risk-adjusted strategy that we market to investors technically belongs to us. That doesn't mean that you couldn't use that as a track record, because one of the benefits of what we've got is that we publish real time the performance of the trades so that any third party can verify that these trades have indeed been placed in real time, and therefore the track record is actually third party validated. So that was one point. Another point which I haven't mentioned is the construct of what we add to the construct of buying the signals in order to make it legal to distribute to investors. We actually package up the strategy as an index, which is essentially like a wrapper around the trades that you're placing that make sure that the investors actually replicate the trades, but they do not know what they're trading. So this is basically, it's not a copy trading system as others think of it. It's actually a replica designed to protect the intellectual property of the traders. So so the investors do not know what they're trading at any point in time, and this means they cannot bypass payment of a success fee.
So Juan, on the same point, I had received a question earlier. It was about any geographical restriction. So is it okay for any person sitting anywhere in the world, or do you have certain geographical restrictions as well?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So there's 3 ways to submit the signals to us. So the short answer is no. So there are no geographic restrictions, albeit not all the options are available in all the geographies. But basically, there are 3 ways to get the signals to us. One is we offer all this as a subscription service, where we basically for 38 euros per month certify the track record, provide a live trading environment, which is basically an exact replica of our production environment in the broker, and then by trading a virtual account with virtual capital, the clients or the aspiring managers basically generate those signals, submit those to us, and then the game starts. Okay, so in this setup, by subscription, anybody anywhere in the world with a credit card can get access to the system. So that would be option 1. The downside to it, well, the upside to it is that anybody can do it from anywhere in the world. And the other one is that there's no risk to front capital, because all that there is basically 38 euro subscription. So that's kind of option 1. Then option 2 is trade a funded account with our broker. And with our broker, we can take on clients with our FCA, meaning UK regulated entity, our European regulated entity, and shortly also from Seychelles. What is the upside to trading with our broker? Well, there's 2 core points. The first one is that we offer the previous service, the subscription service, on a complimentary basis to clients of the broker, meaning that there's no charge for 38 euros a month. Service, I mean, the capital allocation is essentially free. And then, of course, one can make money on their own money as well. Okay, so that's kind of version 2. So version 1 is the subscription product, which is available globally, costs 38 euros a month. Then the next one is a funded brokerage account, which offers the same as 38 euro per month service, but for free. And the third option is available to clients of Interactive Brokers, in that it is possible to connect an existing Interactive Brokers account to the Signal subscription service. So by basically trading with Interactive Brokers, one gets all that I'll show today for free. Okay, so I've basically taken the opportunity to answer the question and also explain the three options to use the service.
That's great one, because a
Okay, so
lot of our students are interactive broker users. So again, I'm pretty sure you will
okay.
provide some kind of demo. So people would like to know, how do you, just how do you connect with with interactive broker? Do you need a TWS or things like that? So I mean, if we have time, we can
Yeah,
go
so
through that.
it's
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So of course we can. But I guess the gist of it is whichever channel you're already using to trade your interactive brokers account, that's fine. All that you need to do essentially is enter a code in the interactive brokers interface, which will connect any existing account to our fixed drop copy service. So, and at that point, you continue doing just the same thing as you were doing before. And then any copies of the trades you've placed will hit us and become the signals that we use. That's
Great.
basically it. And if you don't have an interactive brokers account, or you prefer to open a new account to use the service, then you can just simply basically go through us, open a Darwinex user, and request a Darwinex an interactive brokers account, which is essentially us acting as an introducer to interactive brokers. I guess that's it. Any more kind of questions at this time? No?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So as traders, do we disclose our trading strategies?
Yeah, that's a very important point, and thanks for asking. So the answer is you do not. What you do is, I think I'll show it now, but the answer is no. This is designed to protect your intellectual property. You don't. Okay, I'll show how it works in a second.
And are day trades uh, also able to qualify for
Yes,
this?
yes. So there is. So the answer is yes, day trading is supported. I think typically for strategies that spend less than 10 minutes in trades, the replica process that we use gets a bit tricky. But as long as you stay in trades for like a couple of hours, then there's no issue. Because what we do is you place your trade on your personal account. You say you would trade with interactive brokers or with us. Then we receive the full confirmation from the service, which would typically take anywhere like between 10 and 20 milliseconds. And then what we do is send a block order to market for all your investors. So there's a 20 millisecond delay, and depending on what sort of timeframes you trade and so on, that could create a discrepancy between what you do and what the investors do. But beyond that, there are no restrictions in that sense.
And the 38 monthly fee or 38 euro fee that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Uh, so the traders pay that, or
Yes. So this would be, in this case, it would be the traders. Yes.
okay.
So we also work with academies, for instance, and in many cases, so what we get is that the academies, as part of the fee that they charge their students, cover the cost of the service. So that's also an option.
Okay.
But obviously, it depends which academy you work with.
So one, I understand that there is also some kind of a simulated trading environment where people can build their track record, or do you need to maybe just start trading live?
No, that's a very good point. So the 38 euro service works on a virtual trading account, which is actually an exact copy of the production grade environment from our broker. So it's not required to, you do not trade live capital. What you do is essentially trade a virtual 100,000 euro account. But the interesting thing is that this account is co-hosted with Equinix, meaning with the liquidity providers. It has the same latencies. It has the same price feed. It has the same execution conditions. So there are algorithmic traders who use our setup to A, source real-time data, and then also B, test the actual execution of their algos to make sure that backtests match actual production and production performance. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then I guess the question the two topics I would say that are still unclear is what happens, how do we protect the intellectual property of the trader, and what you get for the service. I'll start with what you get for the service. Okay. I'm just going to look at one example of the platform. Again, what I'm going to show you is what investors in your strategies would see. Okay. All that you will ever need to do is trade an account with either the MT4 or the MT5 trading terminal or the trader workstation. We're also working on adding TradingView, but what I'm going to show you now is not the trader facing thing. The trader facing thing is what you would see today as normal traders. What I'll show you now is how investors look at what you do. Okay. So let me share my screen now. Right. So what we've got here is the most popular strategy in the book. I'll walk you through the numbers and also give you some background on the interface. So for anybody to use Darwinex, all they would need to do is sign up with a service, and we will ask you to provide a username. In this particular case, their name is Fimbo. One user can have multiple strategies. So in this case, this user has, I think, one strategy, which they would have called Fimbo Talis, and this guy trades Forex and indices. Okay. Now, what we do is, and I explained that in a bit, we'll transform the trades of the strategy into an index that starts at a certain, like basically an NAV, notional NAV of 100, and then that keeps goes up, and the growth in the NAV drives the quote of the index. So why is the index quoting at 870 here? Well, because this guy had a approaching 9-year track record, and his cumulative performance has been 770.44. Thus, the quote of the index. Okay, so what does the index mean? Well, it's really nothing other than an obfuscation layer to hide the underlying trades, because what investors would do would be, obviously the markets are closed now, so this is not going to move, but they would basically go and buy, for argument's sake, 50,000 euros of the strategy. And in doing so, they would subscribe to replicating any new trades by the strategy. And in addition to that, they would buy into it. I'm just going to do that because it's kind of market is closed. So I'll just go for buy. This is actually my personal account with 200,000 euros, but this is going, actually, let's do it with 5,000 in case something that goes wrong. But I would then buy. Obviously, it will not be possible to close because the market's closed right now. But if it was open, then I would add 5,000 euros to my existing exposure in the trader, and whenever he placed a trade, I would replicate that trade. So if he was investing in the euro dollar at that time, I would buy into the euro dollar. If he was flat, which he is now, I would basically be flat until he placed a trade in whichever asset, at which point I would replicate.
So from an investor's point of view, what are the trading costs involved? If I buy this index, what would be your trading cost?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it also means we have to go back to the incentive alignment here. But like basically to take the answer up front is the trading costs are as low as we possibly can, because it's the higher the trading costs were, the worse the performance and the lower the investor attractiveness. So I don't know what you guys typically trade, but if you trade with interactive brokers, investors would be trading on their fixed pricing tier. There would be no markups. So whatever somebody pays interactive brokers with any markup is what the investors would be paying. If they're trading, say, currencies, they would be trading between choice and 0.2 pips of spread, plus a commission, a round trip commission of $20 per million, which is an institutional grade commission. Why is that? Well, because it is in our interest to make the strategies perform as much as possible, because the better the strategies perform, the easier it is for us to raise capital. And of course, the more capital is in the platform, the more attractive our platform becomes to you. And that's going to bring me to the next point here. So we have raised 34 million euros for this particular strategy. So to do kind of the round numbers here, let's argue, for argument's sake, let's say, as you can see from history, gross return for a year could be, let's say, for argument's sake, to make the right numbers round, let's say it was 20%. Okay, as I've mentioned before, we pay 15% of the upside to clients. So if the trader delivers 20%, times the 15% participation rate, means a 3% of assets under management, which is 33 million by 3%, give or take €1,000,000 per year. Okay, and all this for trading from home. There's no need to either raise the 35 million or service the 1,600 investors that make it up, or indeed do anything other than trade.
Is there a clawback for negative returns?
No. So the asymmetry works in your favor in the sense that if you win, we pay you. If you don't, we don't pay you, but we don't claw anything back. Okay, so that's kind of the first point. Of course, it's not easy to beat this guy, and it's going to take years until, well, I mean, it can take like typically 2-3 years before investors pay attention to new track records. So what we do in addition to raising capital is we have a seed allocation program. Okay, a seed allocation program, which, as you see here, we call it Darwinia, and it comes in two flavors. The silver flavor is for earlier or more recent track records, and the way it works is it tries to replicate the game of attracting and growing investor capital. Okay, but to cut a long story short, every month we allocate to the track records with the best risk reward and a certain amount, which would be 350,000 euros for the top rank guy, all the way down to 35,000 euros for anybody that meets a minimum rating of 75. I think we could go into details as to how this rating is calculated, but it's basically a function that transforms the return for the last month, the return for the last 5 months, and the drawdown into a rating. It's about, I think the allocation threshold's at 75, and about 10% of our participants at any given point in time, so something like 420 people would make it to receive an allocation of the month, which I think is 35,000 euros, as we spoke. Now the allocations are cumulative. So if I, for argument's sake, I'm the owner of the index TZP, I will receive the 350,000 euros end of this month, and I will then get 3 months to grow the quote of my index and collect the 15% success fee. So basically, this is as if I had collected an investment for 350,000 euros. And these are cumulative, so they're held in this case for 3 months. Next month, I could win it again, and I could win again the 2 months after that for a total maximum, which admittedly is hard to get, of 3 times 350,000, or basically 1 million capital allocation. So as I said, this is like Darwinia Silver is for like junior emerging track records. Darwinia Gold is what we do to encourage the better traders in our platform and allocate. In this case, we allocate up to 500,000 euros, and we do this for 6 months. Okay, so the top guy lands 500,000 euros this month. He's got 6 months to grow it, and next month he would have another choice, another chance as getting the 500,000 and so on and so forth. In this case, it's really because these are already like the creme de la creme, the best track records on Darwinex. In this case, it's only return for the month that counts. Just to show you the track record for this particular one. Do you see the screen for the DJT?
No.
No. So have I been sharing?
We see a bar. We see a bar chart on the right hand side. There is a bar chart of DJT, and on the left hand side there is something like a league table. Is that the one?
Okay, so I'm gonna share. I think I found it. I think it should have changed now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like the guy who's currently at the top. Obviously, he's had a very good month. But he already has like 1, 2, 3, like several years track record. Obviously, he not all the years are positive, and there's some drawdowns and so on. But that is a kind of. But even with that 25% drawdown, he's in a good position to land the 500,000 euros. Of course, this is still not a very popular strategy. What we do here is that he's only got 2 investors. What we do is essentially try and liquefy the marketplace by allocating to the traders that are still under the radar. So, and we actually have lists like that. So it'd be possible for people to see traders who don't yet have like the full allocation there, as you can see. But there's some very good track records. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and come back to the thing. To summarize, there are 3 ways to participate: the subscription service trading virtual capital, trading live capital with our broker, in which case it's free, and the interactive brokers connection, in which case it's also free. And at the other end, there is seed capital, which comes in 2 flavors: silver for the junior guys, up to 350,000 euros for the top guy every month, cumulative for 3 months, and then gold, which is for the more established track records, which is up to 500,000 euros, which are held for 6 months. And the combination of that is an idea to grow from hundreds of euros of revenue, basically grow from the subscription service being free, because one makes back in success fee more than the cost of it, starts to generate the first hundreds of euros of revenues, first of thousands, and so on, all the way up to the million that the top guy currently does. Okay. So I saw a question by Stephen. He was saying, what do you need to vet strategies? We do not really vet the strategies. What we do is we post all the strategies on the platform, and it's called Darwinex because it's basically survival of the fittest. One thing I haven't mentioned, and this is actually quite important, is what happens in the process of transforming the incoming signals until the index that the investors buy, because there's a risk adjustment layer that does 2 things. One is scale the positions in all the strategies so that all the strategies, statistically speaking, have the same forward-looking risk. We do that to create a level playing field so that there's no arbitrage, or there's no, basically gaming the system possible by just taking more risk than the others in order to achieve higher return. That doesn't really bring anything, because a strategy that kind of trades, having a strategy that trades 1 lot and trading a strategy that trades 2 lots for the same timing, same assets, and so on, the index would have the exact same quote, because we would essentially gear down the strategy with the 2 lots down to the common benchmark that everybody has to meet. And that basically makes returns for all the strategies, or for all the indices in the platform, comparable from a risk standpoint. And the other one is, if at some point somebody had a fat finger mistake, or there was some kind of bug in the algo that just sent the strategy trading amok, then we would also intervene to control the risk so that we would protect the investors. That's probably a bit complicated, but essentially what you need to remember is that this is a level playing field for risk, which means all the strategies are comparable. And this way, there's no real need to vet the strategies, because the underlying, and actually I can go show you that. The quote or the NAV is what really shows whether the strategy is long and performing enough. So I'm just going to go to all Darwin's here. So we don't really vet any strategies here. You can see the top, like this is ranked by investor capital. What we could do is rank the other way around by just like random character here. And you can see there's 3,000 or more strategies here, many of which have a quote lower than 100. So I would just like look at this guy, for instance. You know, very young track record, hasn't made any money. We still list it. We don't vet. All we do is just show them on a level playing field for risk. I'm not sure how much sense that made, but yeah, I think that's the first pass at what Darwinex has to offer. I'll have a look at the questions whilst I see others coming in.
So just a question here. Yeah, people feel free to just write the question in, type in, or you can just ask. Just one question, Juan. So do people need to backtest their strategies on their own, or do you provide a backtesting platform as well?
So we provide a backtesting platform in the sense that there's we can source in the backtests and actually show how the index would look. But in terms of backtesting, we would expect traders to have done that in their own R&D development, so R&D environment. The only thing we get here is the trades, and I think this is also deliberate to the extent that we want to protect the IP, and we want the trader to feel comfortable that we're not don't have access to anything other than the actual trades placed.
Makes sense.
One thing I haven't mentioned, which is actually quite relevant, and thanks for bringing this up, is that let's just go to, I'm going to share again. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we import historical. So if somebody has a live account with historical trades, or if somebody starts on the live service or the demo service, what we would do is we would take the trade history acquired with a third-party broker prior to joining the platform, so that people do not lose their track record. So if you've been working with, like, say, interactive brokers for a couple of years, then you could connect your 2 years worth of track record with interactive brokers, which would show, say, here, and then you would start submitting their signals from here. But the track record acquired prior to joining us would not be lost, which is quite important also, obviously, because it's a heads up, like a leg up in terms of doing well. Not sure that made sense. We actually provide tick level data for people to use and the assets that we support. So it's actually quite an interesting. Like, developers value that because it's a way to have pretty accurate backtests.
And just a question on the API. So if people are using Interactive Broker MT5 API, I mean, it's just, I mean, it doesn't really matter because all you're doing is getting the signals. So how you generate signal manual API doesn't really care.
Yeah, correct.
Sure.
We basically get the fills. There's no extra work involved other than just trading. It's basically, you know, like the pitch is it's going to cost you the same as trading with any other broker, and then it comes with all this for free if you trade live capital.
So the subscription cost would cover the data as well, right? So
Yes.
I'm getting the data.
Yes.
Okay. Sure.
Yes. And then one thing I haven't mentioned is it's possible to migrate up from the subscription to the paid service at the choice of the user. So somebody could start with a subscription, and the minute they like the service or they've made enough money to fund a live account, they can then take that report into a live account, by which point the service becomes free.
Sure.
Or you could start directly trading live. Stephen is asking, do we take signals from MT4 and MT5? And the answer is yes, both are supported. Yeah, but the idea is, coming back to the dream, it's like, I would love to get paid for my trading, but you know, kind of have my own hedge fund, but I don't want to either raise the capital or put up with all the hassles and regulatory requirements that come with managing and raising the capital. And then all I do is trade my MT4, my MT5, and get paid for it if I do well. And the three sources of capital would be, well, basically there would be two sources. One is the seed allocations that we do, and the second one would be capital that we attract.
So can someone enroll in both your Darwinex and Darwinex Zero platform? That means can someone be both an investor and a trader at the same time, or is there some? Okay.
No, there isn't. So a Darwinex user is capable of acting on both sides. There's even a Darwin API if you guys wanted to build like a fund of Darwins. I can show you that whilst we're speaking. So there's the Darwin Backtesting Tool, which I mentioned. There's the Darwin API in order to trade with kind of trade Darwins, and there's raw Darwin data. And this we use for professional capital allocators who are on the platform, and they use the toolkit we offer. I'm just going to show you like a sample here so you can see. I could use, if I was like a hedge fund that I was in the platform, I would want to check how all my the kind of the three Darwins of choice together with the together with the combinations would perform in a backtest. Okay, and I could then go ahead and buy these in a demo account. It's also possible to both trade demo trading accounts as well as investor demo accounts with no capital. But then it's a demo feed. It's not the same as the live feed that one would get for the subscription.
And as an investor, to fund the account, like how do we do that? Like is the like bank transfers, or is it more tricky than that?
Yes, so it's possible to fund by both bank wire as well as by credit card. And then Sandy's asking, if you don't have a strategy, are you allowed to trade other strategies such as then? So basically, can I be an investor alongside a trader? And the answer is yes. One would, I mean, for argument's sake, one could wire 10,000 euros to us and invest 2,000 euros in other traders and trade live with 8,000 euros or whichever one you wanted. So you can use the capital at both ends of the delving as a trader as well as an investor. Which I would actually recommend, right? Because if there's some guy here, the guy I showed you with 34 million, he recently won the Hedge Fund Magazine Award for the best performing, I think, FX strategy in the world in the last 5 years.
But again,
So
Juan,
if you can't beat the guy,
I think for
join him.
yeah, I think for investors there are some geographic restriction. My understanding is that US cannot participate in that, right?
That's correct. So investors, of course, trade live, and we cannot onboard US investors with our own broker, and it is not possible to back investors with an interactive brokerage account at this time. So Eric is asking, is it possible to backtest and deploy an algo strategy through Darwinex? It is possible to deploy the algo strategy through Darwinex. It is possible to get data from us to backtest. And you can, of course, use MT4 or MT5 to backtest and so on. But essentially, whichever way you're backtesting today, you can continue doing the same thing, because ultimately all we're doing, we start our setup from the fill confirmations that you guys submit to us. We don't really intervene in how you come up with a strategy, other than providing you with both tick level data as well as an execution grade environment where you can really test the live execution of your algo and see how the fills come back in real time. Hope that answers the question.
So guys, I plan on creating some content so I can show you live how to do that. So something is coming up, so stay tuned.
Yeah, I'll also share some slides, Mang, so you've got them as a sort of backup in terms of how the whole thing works.
Sure.
I'm sure Sal can share. We have like a wealth of educational materials and also descriptions. For instance, there's a complete series on how to use how to connect like Python built algorithms onto MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5, 0MQ. There's also quite a bit of methodology on how to backtest and forward test and so on and so forth. I think we can share those channels, because it's typically high quality materials that are built by traders who are on the platform as well. So it's by traders who show their track record. It's not just the usual internet stuff. That's not accountable.
A few more questions have come up, Juan, starting from Sandy.
So Sandy uses interactive brokers in South Africa. Will I be able to trade with Darwinex? And the answer is yes. But like the point is, you will trade with interactive brokers. That's all you do. It's just that you will be able to connect your interactive brokers account to Darwinex. But the answer is yes, you can use the service. And then Nuzul asked, my trades last 5 to 30 minutes maxed. Right. So we will be able to support it, Nuzul, but I'm going to show you what could happen. Why I said that the shorter the trades, the more difficult the setup. I'm not sure. Let me just share my screen again. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So what this is showing is it's plotting the investor capital invested in the strategy, and what we do is the trader trades. So you would come in minute 0 of your strategy, and then you would be in the strategy for like, in the trade for, say, 30 minutes. Okay. Now, as you trade, you should know that there's going to be a small delay, which we track here, like a replica latency. So you'll place your trade, and it'll take about between 50 and 100 milliseconds for the investors to hit the market after you. Now, depending on which way you trade and at what times you trade, the market could have moved one way or the other. Okay, so it could be that it's moved so since you trade, which is the price you get, the investors might actually trade, say, 100 milliseconds later and get a positive slippage, or they might get negative slippage. Of course, the bigger size the investors trade, the more likelihood of negative slippage there is, because precisely you're actually kind of wiping the book. But that's basically the reasons why investor performance may not track one-to-one your own performance, and the shorter the trades, the bigger the impact of this latency, we call it divergence, on the overall investor performance. Other than that, there's no restrictions. So Stephen was asking, what are the limitations for US citizens? And the limitation for US citizens is that we cannot open live accounts for them, so they can only use the subscription service. And in that sense, the limitation is that they have to pay 38 euros to use the service. They can use it, but it costs $38 actually, $38 a month. Again, as I mentioned, 10% of users receive an allocation on any given month, so it's quite reasonable to expect that the paybacks from our seed capital would exceed the monthly cost of the service if the strategy is decent. For those of you out there, we're also looking to partner up with US brokers. So depending, I don't know, Stephen, what you trade, but we are in conversations with US brokers in a way such that we would be able to source the strategy from a US licensed broker. And in that case, it would be possible to trade, to use the service without having to pay the subscription fee.
And you also mentioned that if we have an interactive broker account, it was also free that way.
Yes, the one limitation though is for US users of interactive brokers, we are in the process. Well, basically, it doesn't work yet for US users of interactive brokers, because for us to connect the setup, we need to be registered as an introducing broker in the US, which we're not yet. We're working on it, but this is not the case. I would expect this to happen at some point in the second half of 2024.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry for that. I mean, I hear your pain. We share your pain. We want to get there too. We know it's a big market. As a general rule, anybody with an LLC account with interactive brokers can use the service, provided they live outside the US, paradoxically. Okay, so I think we've run out of either out of watch's patience or curiosity. So
yeah, Juan, and I understand you also have a flight to catch. I think you have been gracious enough to offer my students some discount, so I'm just going to share the link on the subscriptions. Just give me 1 second, guys.
Whilst we're here, can I ask which platforms people use right now at the minute?
So it's mostly interactive brokers. There is one Alpaca as well in US, and I've recently created some content on MT5. So so we have pretty much everything covered, but it's just that, yeah. So you can use this link and you can get a $20 discount. This is for the subscription account, and
Service,
not the investment account. So yeah, and I'm also going to create some content on Darwinex of how you can actually show your demo of how you can sign up as a trader or investor, things like that. All right. So I'll just stop sharing.
No, like, do you guys trade equities or futures? What's the typical asset classes you guys trade?
Equity and equity and derivatives mostly. We are creating some content on Forex as well, but yeah, mostly equity, Forex, and derivatives, pretty much the entire suite.
Okay.
So you can see people are talking about their indices, options indices, Forex indices. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike, they're asking if you can post the link on the chat. That way people can click directly.
I would be okay. So yeah, I would do that. But I'll also be sharing everything. I'll upload this this webinar on the course, and I'll share all the links. So don't worry about that. And I think Sal has also shared the link. If you have any questions, please post it, or you can post it to me. I have an ongoing channel with Sal, so we can get your answers as soon as possible. Any other questions? I think we have Juan for a few minutes. Please use this time. I guess we are good then.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would really encourage you guys to join. I mean, for us, good strategies are our lifeblood, because we thrive off the success stories that we get from the top guys. So we'd love to have you guys over. It's for me, it's a dream come true, right? To be speaking to this many people everywhere in the world with interest in the platform. So it's thank you so much.
Thanks, Juan. Thanks, Sal. Thanks everyone for dialing in. I will be uploading yeah, go ahead. Sorry, someone had a point.
No, have a nice Sunday, everyone. That was my only point, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye bye.